Like I said before, the program was started in '99. Well, I guess say 2000, and I think it ended in 2005. So that was the major player with post-secondary education. But we've utilized those elements and some lessons learned from that program to apply it to some of our other programs that we've developed over the years. One being a community asset network program, which is through the Department of Workforce Services, which was geared more toward TANF customers, but some of the same program elements, which are employability skills, education, and just more character building, so more positive youth development. We haven't had the funds to actually support by providing honorariums for school, but we definitely try to get them connected with ACT scorings, college tours, work experience with local employers, and that is another major partner that we have, our local employers in our area, because we utilize those employers for our young people to gain work experience during school for minimum wage, but it allows them to do some shadowing and get paid as well. There is still an out-migration here, going back to your question. There is still an out-migration here because our resources and the jobs, the economy is not forthcoming as well for our area. A lot of industry is not coming here. As I stated before, over in Ashley County, manufacturing industry, Georgia Pacific, now known as Coke, is one of the major players, and the other surrounding counties is more agriculture based. So the out-migration is still high for our area. We try to instill them to come back to your communities, but oftentimes there just aren't any jobs for them to come back to. But we do try to instill them to go to local community-based colleges, like the 2-year colleges, if they can. Trying to work with their local counselors at UAMS, CTC, so that they could develop whatever Pell grants or whatever financial supports they need to pursue their education further. So, honestly, I really don't know. I really don't get as much involved into that. But one thing that we have looked toward in trying to prepare our young people for the future is actually entrepreneurship. Because if you're going to have a thriving communities in a rural area where there is no major industry or jobs, you have to be creative and hopefully allow them to develop whatever skills they need to do some entrepreneur. So we've actually touched base with our small business center over out of McGee to help to do more entrepreneurship workshops and things like that to get our kids involved in. 2010. Its inception of the PRC grant was my first, introduction to the College of Public Health at UAMS. I had worked with Anna Huff several years ago on several projects before, and she contacted me to see if I was interested in being a part of the education and training core unit of the PRC. And so I accepted, and so that was my first introduction to it. So last year was the first year with it, and it's a learning process. I'm learning a lot from research to practice. I'm more the practice side in my everyday job with Phoenix, and now the College of Public Health is more, research oriented. I was familiar with a lot of their things because of the work that I've done previously at Phoenix through the PRC, which is our Prevention Resource Center, through the Office of Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention, ADAP. And we talked about risk factors and protective factors and health-related issues. We connected with the health department, so some of the concept and the aims of the Prevention Research Center, I was familiar with. So some of it is Greek, but all of it is not Greek. So I'm trying to balance the two. So recently I attended the Prevention Research research, I guess the conference in Atlanta, which was my first conference with other PRCs from around the nation. And it was very interesting to hear of the work that some of the other PRCs were doing as well as ours. I guess ours is more unique because we have more of a community-oriented piece as opposed to the other PRCs. But some of the projects and the research that they've done in the past, I see it crossing over to Phoenix because I know that research drives policy and policy drives practice. And I can see that evolution being on my end, some of the things that I would like to do from a programmatic standpoint and having the PRC to do the research part of it. And hey, going to my legislature and saying, now, hey, the research has been done, where are the dollars of fund so that I can get the dollars back to my community who needs it. So being able to determine and know the needs of my community and knowing what the groundwork and what the work is being done in our PRC as it relates to research, that how eventually it'll get to a program. And then that's where Phoenix can come in as being a community-based provider. So that's what I look forward to. And I really get excited about the programs that are youth-oriented because that's what we do. Are more youth-related programs. So when I see a project that they've done research around youth, I get totally excited. I was like, okay, how can I apply this and how can I get this back to Southeast Arkansas? So I've been, I'm learning more about the research side, but I'm also thinking in terms of how it can be more applicable and how I can get to the community is in programs that you can see the need. One thing that I just knowing that the evaluation team could be very, very important to Phoenix because with funders now, they want measurable outcomes and they want to know how effective you have been in your programs. And that's what evaluators do. Good evaluators can say, let's get this information, this is what we need. And so being introduced to evaluators or the potential of developing further relationships that they could evaluate some of Phoenix's programs so that we could have those case studies like you asked in the initial, in the beginning of our conversation, is that we'll be able to do some case studies and we'll be able to do some longitudinal studies, or we'll be able to track some students over the years to see what we did with them in 2011, hence it is 2015 that we've tracked and we've studied those kids, and this is some of the accomplishments that we've done had that, I guess, that factor being involved, which would have been Phoenix, had not been in there, then some of those kids may not have gone there. So just knowing the potential, having that resource available to be able to call Dr. Phillips and say, hey, this is a program and I need an evaluator. Because oftentimes more programs are asking you to have an outside evaluator. So just having that as a resource available. I would have to say just knowing the availability, because oftentimes the community is not aware of resources that are available through the state. And being in a position where I can learn whatever it may be, that I can apply it or bring it back to communities, that if there's another community-based organization, or if there's another faith institution, or if there's another entity that's having some issues that I've gained some knowledge here, that I may be able to share that can move them forward in the process, because it is a process. Things are ever changing, programs are changing, people are changing, so we have to stay abreast or on top of things that are going on if we are to be effective in our fields, I have to say. This community-based participatory research that is the buzzword, it was new to me when I became a part of the PRC. And so when I speak to other entities that have experienced that before and they've gone through the process, I was like, I didn't realize they were doing that in the state. So it is new to me. And so definitely that'll be something that we'll be able to piggyback on, is the opportunity to be able to utilize graduate students to come, or to let our health departments know about things that they could have interns or graduate students to come and do studies and things of that nature. I wasn't familiar with it at all. And to hear of, like I said, other people that have been utilizing, especially over in Eastern Arkansas more, and they were like, yeah, you know, and especially when I went to Ferndale, and I think that was the dean's retreat, and just hearing of some of the projects and things that have been going on for years, and I'm thinking, gosh, I'm not familiar with that. And when I claim to know, when you're in the field, you have to know of things that are going on. So I can only imagine other people who don't claim to know of the resources that are out there. So I'm glad that I had an opportunity to be a part of the College of Public Health and to know what they're doing and the potential that it could bring to my community. Some of the services or the resources that they may be able to, that we may be available to us. I think one of the most important things is to know your community, to know who your stakeholders are, to know the power and where it lies, because that's very, very important. Because oftentimes when you have to take baby steps, you can't go in and just say, I'm the grandpa. It just doesn't work like that. You know, you have to take baby steps, and you have to allow the community to take ownership in whatever project that you're doing. Because oftentimes, although I'm from CrossFit, I really don't know exactly what some of the people in CrossFit really want. I need to ask them. Although I'm a service provider, I am of the community, but I still have to provide some level of balance. Although I'm aware of the resources, I can't go and bogart into the community and say, this is what you all need to do. Because that is, and before I could get in the door, they will invite me back out the door. You know, so, you know, you have to go and you have to, I guess, respect. Respect who they are, meet them where they are, and I think that you will go forward and you'll be successful in anything that you do in community development, because it is all about the community. And building that relationship. I guess I have to say is I thank you all for the opportunity, the College of Public Health, for choosing or selecting me to be a part of this process. It is a new project for the state. And I'm glad to be on the ground with it to help build the PRC to where it needs to be, because I've seen PRCs that have been up and going for several years and to have seen the impact that they've had. And I'm excited about the impact that it could have within the state, especially in Southeast Arkansas.
Okay. Thank you. That was really good. Very good. Very good. Thank you.
How many?